The disturbing obsession with virginity, unmasking its dark side in religion, media, and society. Virginity, this age-old obsession, is more than just an innocent preference and hides a dark underbelly that's contributing to some of the most heinous crimes and human rights violations worldwide. Buckle up as we're about to lift the veil on the disturbing fixation with virginity, from religious idolization to the sinister market selling virgins to the highest bidder, and from the exploitation of virgins in media, in porn, in gaming, to the damaging myths that put the honor of the whole family in their daughters' vaginas. Every year, 12 million girls marry before the age of 18. And that is 23 girls every minute, or nearly 1 every 2 seconds. South Asia is home to the largest number of child brides, followed by sub-Saharan Africa. And in terms of prevalence, Niger has the highest rate of child marriage, with 3 in 4 girls married before the age of 18. Child marriage often results in early pregnancy, social isolation. It interrupts schooling, limits the girl's opportunities, and greatly increases her risk of experiencing domestic violence. That's UNICEF statistics from 2020. Frighteningly many men around the world, for thousands and thousands of years, are perversely drawn to female virgins. And this is a trend that unfortunately continues today. Look at the Catholic Church, for instance, where saints are named priests, bishops, popes, religious, missionaries, martyrs, apostles, dottore della Chiesa. So men are listed by name and title, while the female saints are first described as virgins, then by name and title. It sort of gives the impression that the most important characteristic of a female saint would be their virginity. And Jesus' mother, she was largely known for the fact that she was a virgin. There are those who doubt it, though, consider that she did have a husband and she did give birth to a child, however. Then we have Islam. It's considered the finest gift you can get in paradise when you die the so-called noble martyr death. There's 72 virgins. Sex with virgins to cure HIV. In South Africa, there has been this horrible myth that says that if a man has HIV, has sex with a virgin, he will be healed. So in the early 2000s, between 18 to 32% of men believed in this myth, according to various surveys by health workers and also the University of South Africa. This has contributed to hundreds and thousands of children, even babies, being raped every year. It is estimated about 45% of all rapes in South Africa are of children. Gang rape is also becoming more common, and Interpol calculated that a woman born in South Africa has a greater chance of being raped than of learning how to read. When the whole family's honor resides in their daughters' vaginas. How is it that it's so often perceived that the honor of whole families around the world has its place in the daughters' vaginas? How is it that the world's largest religion is based on the story that Jesus' mother was a virgin? Could it be that in the past, when we were nomads and did not own any house or land, there was also no idea that men should own their wives? Because large groups of people who worked together, slept together, cooked, walked, and took care of the children together, side by side. It may not have been so important who was the biological father of the children when everyone took care of them together. So if everyone received protection, love, food and attention from the whole group. When we then stopped being nomads and started cultivating the land instead, started building houses and owning things, then the core family unit became of central importance and the ownership of personal things. Each household was run like a company where the children were a great asset in terms of work and also securing the future. Hard work and large investments were behind the new lifestyle. The man didn't want to risk that his wife could leave him alone or that he would not be the father of his children. Not after all the blood, sweat and tears that he'd put in. He thus came up with these rules of marriage, a contract that would assure him, like a trade agreement, of proof of ownership, that the woman and children were indeed his property. So if the woman had several sexual partners before, he could not be completely sure that he was the father of her children, even if he had signed a contract and she promised him. So the only possibility then to be completely sure was that she was a virgin. And to be sure that she was a virgin, she needed to come from a family with a good reputation that could guarantee that she was a virgin. Relatives and families with a good reputation for producing genuine virgins, they got a really good reputation and the price of their daughters went up and they were really sought after. So if a man had spent a lot of money on making sure that his wife indeed was a virgin from a respected, reliable family, only then to discover that she was already pregnant, it would be disaster for him. So at least he would make sure that everyone would know about the dishonest family who could not keep the daughter in check. I can imagine that such an episode, one episode like that, would be enough to give the family such a reputation that no one would ever dare to buy more daughters from them again. And staying as a poor family with an unmarried daughter and a so-called illegitimate child to support could possibly mean starvation for everyone in the family. Plus that all future daughters would be difficult to get married. So virginity thus became not only a lucrative commodity, but also this vital necessity, in particular for poor families. Female genital mutilation to preserve virginity. Female genital mutilation is practiced today in 30 countries in the world. In northeastern Africa, especially in Somalia and in Egypt, in parts of the Middle East, in parts of Asia, and within certain immigrant groups in Europe, North America and in Australia. And it is designed to inhibit and control women's sexuality. The reasoning is that if a woman's main erogenous zones are completely removed, she will not be interested in having sex and will therefore not be tempted to get rid of her virginity before marriage, and she will not have the urge, the drive to be unfaithful during the marriage. Some genital manipulation procedures involve sewing up the vaginal opening so much so that urine and menstrual blood can only drip out, so that the men would feel extra sure that they indeed are engaged to a virgin. Loads of girls die from severe infections and heavy blood loss after having their clitoris, inner and outer labia cut off. So parents of these girls, they would rather risk their daughters dying a painful death than the risk of she not being a virgin when they marry her off. That's bizarre. In these societies where female genital mutilation is part of everyday life, honor-related murders are also really widespread. That is, premeditated murder of daughters, sisters, cousins and wives. If there is evidence or even just the mildest superstition that they might have had sexual intercourse before they were married, or that they've been unfaithful, or suspicion of being unfaithful during the marriage, in order to save the family's honor. The praised virgin and the punishable whore. It is not just religious fundamentalists, backward-looking traditionalists, HIV-infected rapists, and sexist sex offenders who worship female innocence and hand out punishments to women who do not live up to it. From what I've noted, this fixation is noticeable in many walks of life, in all parts of the world. The idea that virgins are praised and sought after, but as soon as the girls are seen as not so innocent anymore, as a bit slutty, they must be punished. So despite the Me Too movement and the fact that many countries around the world are becoming more and more equal, this is not a declining trend, but unfortunately, the opposite is becoming more and more common. Virgins to the highest bidder. Young women and children who sell their virginity, or are, I would more say, forced to sell their virginity to the highest bidder on auction, is actually very common all over the world. And it is, unfortunately, a persistent trend. UNICEF has estimated that 150 million girls under the age of 18 have been forced into sex globally, and in the year 2000, at least 1.8 million children were exploited in pornography and or in prostitution. And the numbers are just rising. Today would be a lot more than that. Virgins in Western porn and the myth of the hymen. One of the most popular porn categories is really young girls, virgins, who look innocent and or are really inexperienced, preferably in school uniforms, where an adult man, who is often portrayed as a stepfather, a brother, neighbor or teacher, sort of shows the girls sex. It is common that when they're no longer virgins or seen as innocent, the men become both verbally and physically abusive towards them. At times in gangbangs, sometimes with dicks or other objects pressed down the girls' throats, so much so that they vomit and then have to swallow their own vomit. Sometimes with their head pressed down the toilet and flushed. They are forced to drink glasses full of urine and semen from dozens of different men. There are even whole porn categories called facial torture and nose torture, where adult men stretch and stuff things, smear and hurt really young girls' faces, accompanied by degrading remarks, while the girls cry and ask for help. And the stretching and ripping of the anus and vagina is also a really popular pornographic genre, where young women's vaginas and anuses are exposed to extreme penetration. Could be with several penises at the same time, whole arms or other various objects that are not supposed to be inserted into human cavities, leaving them emotionally and physically damaged for life, with tears, bleeding, and prolapse, where internal organs fall down and curve out of the body openings. And of course, the risk of becoming infected with sexually transmitted diseases is extremely high as well. I searched for, on Google, innocent plus virgin plus games. I clicked on one of the search results, entered the same search words again, and I got 32,600 results. These are mature men who take the virginity of young innocent teenage girls. Many deliberately look like young teenage girls, and others even are. So both the films and the games with titles such as Scared Virgin Finally Gives Up, Innocent Scout Girl Torn Apart by Stepfather, Teacher Takes the Virginity of His Young Student, and with gynecologist pictures of young girls' vulva sort of proving that they are virgins, that the hymen is intact. Well, gynecologists, sexual counselors and doctors all around the world, they know the hymen does not exist. It's just a myth. an idea, fantasy, but surprisingly many, both men and women, are convinced that it exists. Like how an old man's penis and balls are slacker than a teenager's, or how a woman's breasts lose elasticity with age and after several pregnancies, regardless if she is breastfed or not. Also, the vagina changes with age and vaginal childbirth. The reason why inexperienced girls bleed during penetration is because they are scared, they are tense, and they are not excited. An aroused willing vagina is very elastic and stretchable. It is not possible to prove whether a young girl who's not given birth and has not been severely stretched over time is a virgin or not by doing a gynecological examination. On the other hand, there are also gynecologists who collaborate with fundamentalists and supply so-called evidence of an intact hymen, which is just a lie. It's partly because the girls are made to believe that they can tell if they've had sexual intercourse or not, and that they must tell the truth, but also partly so that the men would feel safe that they marry a real virgin and have not been deceived. And similar sort of evidence is given during virgin auctions to make buyers feel that they are getting what they pay for. Virginity, it is often the ideal of those who want to take it. Virgins in Japanese porn. 2019's most popular porn categories on Pornhub.com were Japanese and hentai, Japanese cartoon porn, and the same in 2021. Both Japanese porn with real people, anime and hentai, are almost exclusively extremely degrading to women, where the woman is constantly objectified, being raped, often gang raped, sometimes by monsters, by robots, by animals, family members, or with various objects. Severely beaten and violated. Young virgins often appear fighting against the abuse, but are often described as giving in after a little encouragement, that they like to be treated rough, to be raped and offended. And as soon as they taste a bit of cock, they can't resist and just want more. In the less violent versions of the cartoon Japanese porn, the female protagonist is often naive, childish and innocent, with disproportionately large eyes, very pale skin and huge breasts that does not seem to be affected at all by the law of gravity, just as the 72 virgins have been described in the Paradise of Islam. And a more experienced boy or mature man, often in the role of a teacher or stepfather, shows her how things work. And then we have sex dolls with frigid settings. The evolution of sex dolls have come a really long way, so much so that it's even difficult to tell the difference between a living human and a sex doll in a picture. Guess which look is most in demand? That's right. Japan's and Islam's description of the innocent but sexualized very young woman. It has become so popular to order young dolls with innocent tight vaginas. Dolls and robots can also be ordered with the so-called frigid setting, where they've been programmed to say things like, "No, I don't want to," or "Stop, please stop hurting me." You can order dolls that look like little girls who are only 140 centimeters, dressed in school uniforms or in scout uniforms, usually with unrealistically large breasts or completely flat, childlike breasted, but rarely with more common breast sizes. The abuse of virgins in computer games. In computer games, as in the classic fairy tales, the young innocent girl, the princess, must be saved. But strong, independent woman must be punished. Sure, the protagonist can be cool and tough, be a great sniper, be an expert in martial arts, but she's sexualized and exploited. There is even a whole genre, a large and widespread genre for violent sex games where you can even design the perfect rape. So you can choose which elements of violence, sexual abuse, necrophilia, or animal sex and incest that you want to include in the stimulated rapes. All of these games involve men being sexually aroused by seeing women being raped, abused, and tortured. The woman is objectified, sexualized, put in her place, is controlled, taught, and punished. Sexual abuse and violence is normalized. The message is that a woman's feelings are not important, that she is not a living, feeling individual, but an object there to please the man, that her independence and her sexuality should be punished, that a no from a woman is not important because she does not know what it means, or it can change, that when the woman says no, she does not know what she would miss out. She does not understand what's best for her, that she needs a man that has the answers and therefore needs to show her. Even if he would understand that she really, really, really means no, then according to him, she might just deserve to be exploited and raped. The sexualization of virgins in film. And this goes for both Western and Asian films. In films, this message is so cunningly woven into the story that many do not even reflect on what it actually really means. Like Islam's virgins in paradise and the women in Japanese cartoons, the mainstream media feeds on the myth of having a sexy virgin. Beautiful women with curvy bodies who appear in revealing clothing or even completely naked, but who are virgins and completely unaware of their attractiveness and the effect that they have on men. They are portrayed as naive children without any sexual experience or reference, while they usually have some type of supernatural power, strength, or distinction. Although the woman often has cool superpowers, she's without a chance, without the man's protection, his knowledge, control, and guidance. The men in these movies, they are usually mediocre or even bad, but since the woman has nothing to compare with, she looks up to him. He shows her how the world works and how sex works. Because she lacks both the sexual, romantic, social and worldly references. She has nothing to compare with. No hopes, no desires, is neither judgmental nor dismissive, but is happy and grateful for what the man shows and does with her. The man who has previously had bad luck with love and women is not interested in being with an equal, experienced woman who makes her own decisions. With the inexperienced, naive woman, whom he has the upper hand sexually and knowledge-wise, he finally feels safe, in control, special and masculine. He is, after all, the first man in a woman's life, and that's automatically the best she's ever been with. He can relax. Nothing is expected of him. He does not even have to try to be a better partner or lover. So in order to not make the underlying message too clear, the women are no ordinary young virgins, but instead aliens, mermaids, magical fairy tale creatures. They are created in an artificial way. It's a computer program, or maybe grew up in an isolated place. The whole idea of sexualizing typically childish qualities, of wanting a child in an adult woman's body, has strong undertones of pedophilia, selling the cure for male insecurity, the fear of being rejected and humiliated in the form of a female virgin, is both destructive, deeply disturbing, and also completely counterproductive. The fact that female life experience is repeatedly portrayed as something negative in the media and religion is both very tragic and extremely backward-looking. As we've journeyed through this unsettling exploration, we must acknowledge that the obsession with virginity is more than just a societal construct. It is a damaging belief system that fuels inequity, abuse, and violation of human rights on a global scale. It is clear that we have a long way to go, but the path towards a more equitable and respectful society begins with awareness and dialogue. Even if you are not directly affected by this, remember that you are part of the whole and that your words and actions are powerful. We can no longer afford to turn a blind eye to the sinister underbelly of this obsession and the ripples that it creates. We must question, challenge, and debunk these harmful myths and practices tied to virginity. This journey begins with you, your conversations, your actions, and your refusal to take part in this toxic belief system. Even if it's just pointing out that there is no hymen to break, that it doesn't exist, that it's only a myth. Or calling Jesus' mother just Mary instead of the Holy Virgin or Virgin Mary. Educate your young adolescents about violence and derogatory porn and computer games. Let us pledge today to educate ourselves and others. Let's spark conversations, challenge old beliefs, and create a world where dignity, respect, and equality are not just ideals but a reality for all. This is our call to action. We have the power to change the narrative and transform the future, and it starts right here, right now, with us.